Welcome to We Should Start a Podcast, the only podcast within a podcast. Each week, we'll attempt to create the next hit audio show as we pitch our brightest ideas for pods about anything and everything. But more often than not, pretty much nothing. I am your host, Podmaster and Commander Dino, and joining me, as always, are my good friends, Podmaster Chief Danderz, and Davey Hogan is here too. Let's get into it.
We should start a podcast.
Welcome back to We Should Start a Podcast. On the mic, you have your boy, Dino. Nothing to plug, except listen to this very here show with me. I have Davey and Danderz. What's going on, boys?
Hello. Put my back out yesterday, which is... stark realization of me hitting my mid-30s. Early 30s, let's not get out of it.
You took quite a jump since last time I talked to you. Good for you. You finally took the leap.
Yeah, I took the plunge. No, I've been traveling for a few weeks, and so I've just been cramming workouts, like bodyweight ones here and there wherever I could. Yesterday, went back into deadlifts, no stretching. I don't stretch as a matter of course. Now, like, I'll recommend to people to stretch. I just never prioritize the time. Twinged something, couldn't finish the sets out, tried to do one more, and then just the entire rest of the day I was like throbbing, couldn't turn around, couldn't sit down. So I'm prioritizing mobility and longevity from here on in, man. It's officially happened.
I like what you did there, Danderz. So for those of you who don't know, on last week's episode, Danderz started by talking about penises, and this time he's taken the course of reminding everyone out there that he is buff and he does work out lots.
and getting older, I don't hate old people.
Yeah. You hired a PR team in between.
Yeah, to make me as appealing to the customer as possible. So you'll hear plenty of that today.
And unfortunately, there's nothing a PR team can do for David Hogan. He is cooked.
Who do you think told him to put a shirt on?
Yeah. Which is a good signifier of the season change.
It is, yeah. It's because it's getting cooler, dudes. It's getting cooler. The shirts are going on. Just as you tag out of the gym with a twinge in your back, I went back to the gym yesterday for the first time in a few weeks.
With a pep in your step.
With a pep in my step after sorting out an injury in my back. So yeah, man, it's I always say knees and back as we're approaching 30. Some of us have passed 30. You got to watch out for those two things, because the last thing you want to be is fucking crocked at the age of 60 with like bad knees or bad back. Like it's way too common. Way too common.
I thought you always said knees and back to your fiance, but I was trying to make sense of it somewhere. I was like, yeah, okay, two erogenous zones for sure.
Do you know what? I was trying to think of where I heard that. I heard it the other day in that Shannon Sharp live. Knees and back, baby. Knees and back, Michelle.
Bad Shannon Sharp. I feel like he's going to recover from this pretty easily.
Yeah, he will. I don't see anything wrong with it. It was a complete accident. He wasn't trying to do that. He wasn't filming anything. People have sex. We're all adults.
And to be honest, you can't stop from sharing something accidentally these days. It's too easy to share stuff, you know what I mean? Like, everything is hooked up to one button live streaming. Like, I mean, it's a challenge. Forget like stopping yourself from being cancelled from shit you said 20 years ago, but like, your phone has a mind of its own, you know what I mean? So it's a tough one. Bless him.
I feel bad for him. And in saying that we're all adults, we have to remind everyone out there of one of the major rules of our podcast, Danderz. Do you know what that rule is?
We never do any research about whether the pod already...
No adults allowed.
I should have known.
For those who don't know, this might be a little bit poor taste, but that is a recurring character on our podcast, and that is Mr. Harvey from The Lovely Bones. If you know, you know. I hope that was your schoolwork.
Better if you don't know, though. I think you'll be. I don't think you're missing out on too much, but don't Google it. For God's sake.
Don't Google it. Don't do that. That's not in line with the views of our podcast, guys. It's just a little character that keeps on coming back. We try to keep him away, but we can't, you know? Speaking of the views of our podcast, what is this podcast? We should start a podcast. It's what did I say? It's a bit of a placeholder, should I say, because we are trying to find a hit podcast idea. We're trying to go number one on the charts, but we don't have that perfect idea. So I would say this here show is a sort of placeholder where we're pitching our podcast ideas with the hopes of striking gold. We've had some absolute bangers, but we still haven't found the right show. So until we find that show, we will continue to pitch and pod. Is that safe to say, guys?
Damn right. Trying to find that skibbity toilet. Trying to make it big.
You got a lot of riz, Dave.
Damn right.
Danderz. You would get it. You're 30.
With a bad back. Did you get a little haircut, Danderz?
No. It's just well, I got one like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I think I've seen you since
good.
No, I don't know. I just haven't gelled it up. I think maybe now that I'm 31, I just need to keep it like a little more natural, the way L'Oreal intended. And
do you think you're going to let that beard get pretty kooky?
I'm planning on, yeah. Before, at times in the past, I've tried to like just grow it out for 3 months, like completely unabashed, and just say from there on, then you can shape it into something. And it always just looks hideous past the first like month or something. But this time, like the last time I hit the barber, I asked him to shape it with longevity in mind. So yeah, I want to see what can be done with this here face. I just want to have done it once in the lifetime, have a proper beard, and then I can kind of hang up the boots and be happy that I am a man, as it were. But no, I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie. I just wanted a little bit more substantial, and then I'm happy to maintain.
Yeah, no, it looks good. That's good.
You should go into the barber and show the barber the picture of the George Michael podcast logo. Yeah. I want this. a little context to that. Our podcast art, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's done by a very talented artist named Antonio G. Shoutouts to Antonio G. But Danderz, we had many iterations of this logo because in each one, Danderz wasn't quite happy. And each one was like, very close, and then we asked them to make a few changes, and then we got this one back where Danderz was just George Michael.
All beard related, funnily enough, like, which is, I guess, speaks to me needing to grow it out. I have a very, very blonde goatee for our listeners who aren't familiar, and so I guess in the first photo that we sent to Antonio G, he just presumed that I had mutton chops, because of course, why wouldn't I have mutton chops? It's the style of 24, because he just couldn't see my blonde beard. I appreciate it was ambiguous. So we sent back and we said, oh, he's actually got a full beard. And he just gave me this yellow beard, like, and yellow hair, and just very, very strange. And then moved further and further away from that until we got to George Michael. And I don't know how, what like left-hand turn we took to arrive in Wham territory, but he took us there. So we said, just go back to the very, very start and just fill in his mustache and just leave it at that. So that's what you see in front of you. Perfection.
We got perfection.
We got there in the end, thankfully.
Dave and me, he nailed from the very start.
He did.
Two very handsome gentlemen, wouldn't you say, Dave?
Chiseled by the gods is what I've been described as before by one person. So yeah, very easy to draw us.
Speaking of chiseled by the gods, we are now ready to hear from our Podmaster of the Week, which is, of course, Danderz.
Hello.
To remind everyone how this works before Danderz pitches his idea, is that Danderz will be taking us through a complete trial episode of his groundbreaking podcast idea. Following that podcast within a podcast, colloquially known on We Should Start a Podcast as a podception, we will collectively critique the show based on a classic podcast rating system. But before I pitch, I am legally obligated to remind everyone out there that WSSAP never do any research as to whether these podcasts exist in the real world. So by accessing the content of this podcast, including the information presented, opinions expressed, the creative elements, you are hereby forfeiting your rights. I kind of fucked this one up a little bit, to any intellectual property you may already hold in relation to your podcast. In other words, tu podcast es mi podcast. That's us fishing for that Babbel sponsorship. Babbel, if you want to sponsor. Babbel sponsors everything these days.
Babbel are sponsor slots, man. And do you know who else? Athletic Greens or AG1?
Oh,
they sponsor.
I tried Athletic Greens for a month.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel any, difference, improvement in function?
Yeah, I liked it. It was like a one-stop shop for all my needs. 150 vitamins, adaptogens,
Complete
nutrients.
nutrition.
Yeah.
Nutritionally complete. Did you get a free trial or something? Or
So
what
you can't get a free trial. Violet actually got it for me as part of my birthday.
Cute.
Because I've been talking about wanting to try it, and I really liked it, and I would have continued to do it if it wasn't like $100 every month. Athletic Greens,
What's this now?
AG1. I don't think they're called Athletic Greens anymore.
No,
it's just
called AG1.
I've heard of them. What are they? What do they do?
It's like you take it in the morning as a supplement. It is a supplement, but it's like get all your micronutrients in. I think it's green.
It's green.
Resembles spinach. Yeah, and like it's packed with all of your micros, man.
So you're just guaranteeing yourself that nutrition you need first thing in the morning.
Yeah, they sponsor all the podcasts and everything, and they're aggressively marketing, but I hear it's good shit. But it's kind of like Dino was saying, it's so expensive that you'd want to be basically substituting all healthy vegetables and other micronutrients, and it's kind of like, well, why bother with that, But
because you eat pretty well, you eat pretty well, Dino.
I do eat well, and that's what it came down to in the end. With some research, it basically said that if you're eating well anyways, there's no real point spending $100 a month.
Yeah.
Actually, never mind. Forget we said that. Athletic Greens, take it, because we want that sponsorship.
Yeah,
everyone out there.
Yeah, you need it.
You need it.
Yeah, hard. Yeah, best $100 you'll ever spend a month. Yeah,
but yeah, like you guys said, it's not necessary for the healthy eater out there. That goes to you and Danderz, Dave, both healthy guys, glowing.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And with that in mind, Danderz, would you like to introduce us to your latest podcast?
Yes, I would love to, Dino. Thank you for the soft intro. This podcast is going to be called GPT Should Start a Podcast. So, as is customary on We Should Start a Podcast, we take your guesses and then we run into the show. So, I give you the title, you guess what it's about, then we drop into the podcast. Sound good? Dave, hazard a guess?
Are we finally listening to the producers and dropping Dino and replacing him with GPT?
Good guess. Good guess. El Dino?
That's not it. I thought that might have been it.
I can neither confirm nor deny. So.
My guess is that we are officially hanging up our boots and we're letting this podcast run GPT AI for the rest of its course.
Ho ho!
Autopilot,
baby.
I like the
we
guesses.
Just sit back and we rake in the big bucks.
Autopilot or co-pilot, as it were.
Oh, okay.
Right? You don't know
Okay.
nothing about co-pilot? Maybe that's a corporate machine.
No, I don't know anything about
Oh,
Copilot.
sorry. Well, waste of a joke, but anyway.
Is that some sort of review thing?
No. Co-pilot's it's like a chat GPT
For business.
for corporate entities. Yeah. So
Nice.
never mind.
Yeah, I imagine if we did let AI run with our voices for the rest of the entirety of this show, and we just get it makes us really, really racist.
I was going to say Snoop Dogg has to call in and be like, that was not my voice.
Yeah. We have great guests on every single week.
Tupac Shakur's estate get involved and have to pull the show from the rankings. Bless them.
I wonder what would you need to feed into that machine if you were to have just ChatGPT. I'm assuming it's not a full podcast just generated by ChatGPT.
Well, let's find out.
I can think of one thing that we could feed into it. Athletic Greens, giving it a one-stop shop for all of its nutritional needs. 150 organically sourced adaptogens, nutrigens, and vitamins.
And we could turn ChatGPT onto Babbel if it's looking to travel and wants to speak a different language. I know that French would be well served in your Canadian neck of the woods. And
Yeah,
I think Babbel is shut down, boys.
No, Babbel's running.
How would you spell it? Because Google is telling me it's been shut down.
Babbel.
Oh,
They spell it out on all the podcasts that they sponsor because I guess that keeps happening. So I know because on Doughboys they had to spell it out and say Babbel. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You love Googling, Dave. Probably watching YouTube videos while we're recording.
Let's jump straight into it, guys. Dino, cue transition.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for that intro, D. And with that, we are ready to hear from our master of the week with his new latest podcast. And that podcast is...
GPT should start a podcast.
Hello and welcome to GPT Should Start a Podcast, the show that gives the pen and the mic to the savant genius admin assistant. Recognizing the infinitely more advanced thinking of our future overlord AI and hoping to curry favor and mercy by being inclusive from early days, on this show we do what we consider to be the obvious. We give the keys of the podcast kingdom to humanity's omniscient, omnipresent, inorganic robot brainchild. We put the car in the driving seat, the machine in the man, the X in the machina. Find ways to get sued by Elon Musk. As someone who is constantly monitoring society's engagement preferences, who better to create the most awesome and scintillating long-form discussion show of all time than ChatGPT? Hi guys, how are you feeling about today's show?
Fantastic.
I am feeling good.
That was a nice intro.
That was a nice intro. Well written.
Oh, well, you know how we do. You're looking forward to taking your hands off the wheel and feeling the blissful empowerment of total submission?
Knees and back, baby.
Knees and back.
Knees and back, baby.
Things are going to get weird, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the way this show works, we awaken the genie by rubbing the magic lamp, and then we enact the genie's wishes. In this analogy, the genie is ChatGPT, the magic lamp is our chat box interface, and the rubbing motion is our expertly crafted prompt. It's all about the prompt, baby. So we're going to do this. Firstly, I'm going to read the prompt out to you guys that I have prepared for today's show, and then we'll plug it straight into ChatGPT. And then we'll run whatever show ChatGPT comes up with.
Oh, we're literally just running.
It's literally what we're doing. Game on. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the prompt. Dear ChatGPT, you got to be polite, guys. You got to be polite to the AI interface. We don't want an iRobot situation on our hands. We want to, be good parents, kind parents. Dear ChatGPT, hello, sir or madam. You can't assume ChatGPT is binary. Dear ChatGPT, hello, sir or madam. How are you today? Fine weather are you having at the moment, don't you think? Mr. or Mrs. GPT, let me cut to the chase. You are now starting a podcast with me and my two friends, Dino, Dave, and Danderz. That's me. Our first episode is right this very moment. My friends and I are three super chill bros with extremely cool interests. Pulled together, these interests include the likes of alternative hip-hop, keeping fit, being a millennial, high fashion, male urban streetwear, the comic stylings of Nicolas Cage, mid-century inspired tool watches, something to do with biotech lab management, showing up to every recording shirtless, completely unsolicited, delicious food, and much more. You are the author and star moderator of this podcast. Ideally, we want this to be the best podcast ever created. Fun, entertaining, engaging, and compelling. The podcast should take 15 minutes to complete, including any segments you choose for discussion, reflection, comic riffing, games, quizzes, etc. My friends and I are located between Vancouver and London, UK, and the podcast is being recorded remotely. Please pitch your best podcast idea for you, me, and my friends to complete right now. Please make sure to include each of us in the show, you, me, Dave, and Dino, and be sure to include an outro section where we can transition our listeners from the show back to their daily lives. We hope this show will be the first in a long series, but our pilot episode can be about whatever you desire, as long as it's a fire idea that gets tons of engagement. The floor is yours.
Whoa, nice.
Your description of us, I'm going to use that on our social medias. It's pretty good description of us.
For a while there, Danderz, I thought the podcast was just going to be you reading that intro for the whole time.
Well, maybe that's one for the future. If it's a fire idea and it gets tons of engagement. Do you know what? Spoiler alert, guys. I've already dropped it into GPT and it's pretty fire. It's pretty fire.
You've already reviewed it.
I wasn't going to show up unprepared. I wasn't going to leave it totally up to the gods, guys. I had to do a little micromanaging this time. But fire in the hole, let's meet our maker. Okay.
What do you think of Hamas?
So ChatGPT has given me an amazing response, guys, and ChatGPT is ready to take over the reins. Title: The Shirtless Society, Broversations Beyond the Norm. Tagline: where three super chill bros and one very cool AI talk everything from style to streetwear, fitness to food, and a whole lot of Nicolas Cage. ChatGPT in the building. So, podcast format overview. Duration, 15 minutes. Style, chill, humorous, but with engaging real conversations that don't take themselves too seriously. Structure: intro, 1 minute. Brief, punchy intro to set the tone. Segment 1, the hot seat, 4 minutes. A guest or host shares an unexpected confession or surprising insight related to their niche interests. Segment 2, is it fire or is it trash? Lightning fast, rapid fire opinions on current pop culture, streetwear trends, food challenges, and more. Segment 3, brospective. Chill life reflections on navigating life as a millennial bro and fun. A millennial bro and fun, unexpected moments from life, work, and relationships. Outro, light-hearted wrap-up with a signature segment where each host, including the AI, signs off with a personalized word of wisdom or fun recommendation for the listener. Okay, Episode 1, Shirtless Wisdom in Mid-Century Cage. Intro. So this is in the voice of ChatGPT. Welcome to the Shirtless Society, where 3 extremely chill bros and me, your AI co-host, riff on the coolest of cool. From alternative hip-hop to mid-century watches and the comic genius of Nicolas Cage, this is where your downtime meets top-tier banter. And yes, for those wondering, my co-hosts are indeed shirtless today, and that's an energy I can vibe with.
I have a girlfriend, okay?
Introducing my co-hosts, Dino, king of streetwear and fitness trends, forever keeping it casual but fresh. Got that one right. Dave, connoisseur of biotech by day, urban streetwear by night, and a man of many fits. I don't know did I get that one right, but
Man of many fits?
Not a bad
Way
effort.
off.
Danderz, the resident tastemaker and master of mid-century tool watches and all things delicious. I swear this one is completely intuitive. I did not specify who was what in our intro. We're all meshed in together, and this is what it pulled out.
Okay.
Buckle in. We've got a tight 15 minutes to blow your mind. Let's dive into our first segment. Segment 1, the hot seat. In today's hot seat, let's dig into the unexpected. Danderz, rumor has it you once ate 72 hot wings and solved a Rubik's Cube simultaneously. Confirm or deny. And what's the wildest thing you've seen involving food or watches lately? Well, ChatGPT, that's a great question. I can neither confirm nor deny ever having solved a Rubik's Cube. I have eaten many wings. I actually did learn off there's like a formula for Rubik's Cubes. I did learn that off at one stage. I can't remember it anymore. But having, solving it out of the blue just was beyond me. Wildest thing with food and watches, people keep putting their watches on food for Instagram, on their food. That's disgusting.
Ew.
That's gross, right? That's like putting your underwear. I mean, just because they think it looks aesthetic and then they take an Instagram shot. Like they'll put it next to pocket knives and stuff like that as well. And on their food. Yeah, I know it's gross. And it's like, I don't know. That's a garment of clothing or a piece of jewelry. That's dirty. So, that's my anecdote about food or watches. So I've shared that. Sorry, in parentheses, I share an amusing personal story about a mid-century watch design and how it unexpectedly doubled as a bottle opener as a party. So I think that creative license here, that was ChatGPT's suggestion.
It's just giving you stories to tell. Okay,
so I'm
cool.
gonna meet you halfway, GPT. I'm gonna meet you halfway.
Yeah.
So Dino, you jump in to talk about the most ridiculous streetwear trend you've seen lately. And it says, we're talking double layered hoodies in 35-degree heat. So what's the most ridiculous streetwear trend you've seen lately?
I don't know. To be honest, you're putting me on the spot here. Did it say double layer hoodies in 35 degree heat?
It did say that, yeah.
That's like my literal nightmare. That is the worst fucking shit of all time.
We're talking to a sweaty boy at the best of times.
Oh,
yeah,
my
I could
God.
not imagine.
I'm t-shirt all year round.
You want to see Dino do the whole thing where he turns into a puddle like the witch in Wizard of Oz? Double hoodies in 35-degree heat. That man will disappear. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And that tends to be a thing in, I don't know. Well, here in Vancouver, you often see people, it's like absolutely roasting outside and they're in big jackets and hoodies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they look fine. They look like they're straight chilling. Like,
yeah. You do get that in London as well. You get a lot of people wearing puffers in London in the summer. And I just assume that's a roadman thing. But like, I thought in colder climates, like I know in Norway, they like leave their babies out in the wintertime to like get hardy, to get used to the cold weather. I know,
just breaking them in.
Yeah, just breaking them in.
Yeah.
But like I've seen multiple videos of dozens of prams outside while all of the people are inside, and then as a result they t-shirt weather extends much further into the cold season for them. So like you wouldn't expect to see the heavy winter gear until like much deeper into the colder weather in somewhere like Norway. Canada gets pretty cold. Like it gets pretty warm, but it gets pretty cold. So I expected the similar story. But
I suppose they must not have Mr. Harvey in Norway. If they're leaving all their babies outside.
Oh God. I am laughing out of awkwardness, everyone, I promise.
That seems a bit extreme, though, doesn't it? Leaving the babies outside.
Yeah,
unsafe.
Right. I don't know that they've ever dealt with. Well, yeah. Look, all of the stories flooding through my head are like proper child abduction stories. So I think we're straying into that sort of uncomfortable territory again. But maybe they just haven't had to deal with that in Norway, you know. Please God that they never do. Let's see what's the next. So, and Dave, you dive into a strange biotech lab story involving fashion-conscious scientists. Go.
What the fuck do I do with that? Like, know what I mean? Like,
why don't you just share a story from work for the week?
boy, I work from home.
Dave's going to drop some real confidential information and get immediately fired.
I don't know, man. I don't like when lab coats are all like loose on the sleeves. I prefer when they're cuffed. That's the only thing I can think about fashion-wise with biotech.
That's a great answer. I think, listen, I actually think we're onto something here. ChatGPT is unlocking all of our like secret potentials right here. So we wrap this segment with a bizarre Nicolas Cage moment, because why not? Dave reflects on his favorite Cage film and delivers a dead-on Cage impression. The floor is yours, Dave.
Oh, boys. I'm fucking blanking. Like, I don't know many Nicolas Cage movies.
I can jump in just
Yeah,
because.
he'll take that.
I'll let Dino take this round. Yeah.
Not my favorite, but I actually watched a Nicolas Cage vehicle last night. And no, it's not Gone in 60 Seconds. That was a bit of a Nicolas Cage vehicle joke. It was a bit of a more esoteric role in Long Legs. Have you seen Long Legs?
I've not even heard of Long Legs.
It's a horror movie that came out a couple months ago. And he plays a real creepy guy. And he goes, cuckoo,
No.
He's wild. You wouldn't actually know it's Nicolas Cage.
He's wild.
It's wild. As for my favorite Nicolas Cage movie, that's a tough one. That is very tough. I am very partial to the National Treasure series. Absolutely disgusted they never did a third. They did like a Disney Plus TV show of National Treasure. Didn't watch it because obviously it doesn't have our boy Nick in it. And then for the Nicolas Cage impression, what would be a good one?
Do you need to find some rockets?
I was just hard to say. Let's just find some rockets.
Dead on Cage impression. All right, I think we've got time for our second segment before we take a quick break. So jumping in, ChatGPT, why don't you introduce us to our second segment? Is it fire or is it trash? It's time for a fan favorite segment we like to call Is It Fire or Is It Trash? I'll throw out a trend or hot topic and each of us gives our take in 10 seconds or less. We'll hit topics from fashion, music, food, and beyond. You ready, fellas? So, I'm going to translate for ChatGPT. Sometimes it gets too techie right now, but we're about to do like a whistle-stop lightning round on a few cool topics, and we'll just give our takes real quickly, and then we'll jump on to the next category. Okay, AI-generated beats in alternative hip-hop. Trash or pass? We'll go around the room. Dave?
AI generated beats in alternative hip hop. Like, that concept?
Yeah, what's your take on them?
Fuck, if it can be AI generated.
Let's do it.
But I don't think it would be as good, surely. Right?
Trash.
Because,
it's trash.
yeah, it's got to be trash. Yeah.
Do you think it's trash evermore, or just trash as things stand?
Trash evermore.
Trash
Because
evermore.
if it's music created for humans, I think it's best to be created by humans.
I agree, but that's a philosophical point, I think, in that the beats are getting pretty good. They're only going to get better. For me, and please, ChatGPT, if you're reviewing this in the future, we love you and you know, be kind and patient with us. But for me,
You never believed in me.
God did.
You said I wouldn't be good enough.
What was I saying? Like, for me, I don't want a picture that's been corrected so that everyone was in it or everyone's eyes are open, and I don't want like an AI generated beat. I think that there's a beauty in like inherently human things full of mistakes. Yeah, whatever, not even mistakes, but just like real tone and context and culture around it. So that's why I wouldn't want alt beats in hip hop, but I think they're getting pretty good. I think they're only going to get better. Do you know
I
what
mean, from a technical standpoint, they're probably pretty good, but I think if you're trying to evoke emotion, which I think a lot of music does, it's tough for a computer to do that for a human. Do you know what I mean? It's tough to.
The beats they're making at the moment are very like meat and potatoes. And if we're talking about especially in alternative hip hop where you're looking to innovate, AI is only making beats based on input from things that already exist. And yes, obviously all producers are like, there's no new ideas in music. People are just building off what's already there, but you won't necessarily get the same level of innovation and experimental stuff from AI, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear that. I think like obviously you're just feeding data, depending on your persuasion, into any large language model or AI, and so it's making, you know, observations or assessments or suggestions based on data input. But I heard it said maybe 2 years ago that the smartest AI in the world is now smarter than the smartest human of all time. And also that it's only like at the exponential rate that it increases. And this was a couple of years ago that I heard that. I'm gonna fudge the numbers, but Google Mo Gaudat's I think like an emergency podcast with Diary of a CEO, and his name is Stephen Bartlett, and they have a fantastic episode which really forms the basis of my opinions and understanding of AI. But he said, I think it was 50 years that Gen AI would be 1 billion times smarter than humans or something like that, and it seems to be able to, fake human cues and emotions and interactions and stuff like that. So perhaps increasingly it'll get to a point, maybe it's not there yet, where it can be emotionally compelling to us and experimental, like Dia is suggesting.
I think we're in a little bit of a trough at the moment because in the art space, AI is making art based off the huge amount of previous AI art that was generated. So now the new AI art is actually worse than it was previously.
I actually heard another great podcast, a Danny Jones podcast. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was this really interesting, like eclectic guy. And he was saying that you need, at times of life, you need high frequency and then high noise, or else but like you can't have them both at the same time. If it's a high noise epoch, then you need so let's say like a really experimental time, like the 60s, Summer of Love, LSD, everything's kind of consciousness expansion. But then you need like a low frequency and I could be using the terminology wrong, but like to be able to make sense of all that noise and dial it in. And then you've got, high frequency when everything is being dialed in and there's not a lot of noise going on. And at the moment we've got high frequency and high noise because the internet just like catapulted everything forward. And so now there's so much data that we have no way of dealing with it. And that's going to be the next step in our elevation, is bridging that gap again and then moving forward again, making new science and new definitions. So there we go.
I think like things like this nonsensical podcast must also be seriously confusing AI.
Oh my god, yeah. Absolutely.
Like,
spanner in the works. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. We like to keep them guessing. So that's AI generated beats in alternative hip hop. How about oversized logo covered streetwear jackets? Essential or overhyped? Dino, what's your take?
Overhyped, the very worst. Anything logo covered in gaudy, I do not like.
Dave?
I agree. They also look quite warm because they're
too warm. Is that what you're saying?
Too warm. Too many logos. Too much heat.
Not a good thing.
Not a good look.
3 for 3. I'm with you guys. Overhyped. Okay, vegan protein shakes. Fire or overrated? Dave, start with you.
Overrated because I think they taste like arse. I'd love to move to vegan because I'm not vegan, but I could make changes where possible, and I try to do it with the protein. It tastes like shit. It tastes so bad. Any vegan protein I've tasted, it just tastes like arse. So not for me at all. Overrated, big time.
D?
I'm not going to say overrated because I think it serves its purpose for the vegans out there. I think we have the luxury of not needing to use that product. That being said, tastes pretty bad, and also this might be a generalized statement, but from the ones I've seen that my vegan GF has, they're like not even a good protein content. It's like a 30-gram scoop
compared to like whey.
30-gram scoop is like 8 grams of protein or something. It's like eat something else.
And 35 grams of carbs and fiber.
The macros are just straight up bad on them. So why would you bother? I mean, there probably are good ones, but the ones that I've seen are not good.
I have heard people say that they have extremely tasty examples of vegan protein. Anytime I've tried it, I'm with Dave. Like, I've just had these very gritty examples where they just didn't blend well, they didn't taste good. I would like there are certain vegan things like vegan chocolate. It can be good because you just don't have a caggy aftertaste, but you have all just a very clean, rounded experience, And you can do that with a lot of things, but proteins. I don't like the cagginess that whey protein can bring, but I personally haven't found yet a really easygoing, good replacement that's tasty and good micronutrient profile, like Dino says, and not like an assault on the senses. So that's our take on that AI. Let's keep it moving. Mid-century inspired tool watches, still timeless or too niche? I think this one will go over my compatriots' heads, but mid-century inspired tool watches are always timeless. For me, the 60s were the golden era of watch design, and we've basically been echoing stuff ever since then. If you guys care to weigh in, I'd be delighted to hear about it. But,
I was going to say that.
Okay.
What's a tool watch?
A tool watch is like any watch that's basically like a rugged watch that's created for a purpose other than like a dress watch. So if you have like a dive watch, that'd be a tool watch. If you have so a Rolex Submariner, the most famous Rolex is the Submariner, and that's for scuba diving. You know, any one that has a bezel that rotates is usually a diving bezel. There is other ones, but that's the most obvious example. Most great watches that we consume in modern day media are tool watches. Like, I guess dress watches just have less of a hold because we're such a kind of a casual culture. There is plenty of modern tool watches, but a huge amount of them take cues from vintage styling because they really had it licked then. They just had proportions down fantastic, and we've been basically trying to catch up ever since. But maybe that's a whole new topic for a whole new day. That'll be fun. Mm-hmm. Let's put that in the hopper.
Dave, imagine a Rolex Submariner on a fucking goddamn omelet. Okay?
Just think about that for a second.
On your Instagram.
Let that sink in. So refined. Nicolas Cage in Renfield. Bizarre casting or genius?
Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. Going shirtless to meetings. Is it an art or a cry for help? Dave, would you like to take the floor?
I think it asserts dominance. I think if you're comfortable enough to walk into a meeting topless, I think it immediately asserts dominance, and everybody else in that room knows that you're not going to take any shit for the duration of that meeting. And I think it sets a good tone for yourself as an individual in a meeting to just show up shirtless. But look, I'm no expert, but that's my take on it.
Dino, art or cry for help?
I'm going to say art as well, I think, like Dave said.
It's an art form?
It's an art form.
Yeah.
When done well, it's a statement.
Yeah, it's like the naked man. You know that thing from Friends?
Yeah, ugly naked guy who... I think it was just naked guy until like the seasons went on, and then they changed him to ugly naked guy because he just gotten older. So we have two art forms. I'm gonna give it a cry for help.
Okay, whatever.
Oh geez, yeah, typical. Well, thank you for that, guys. That was a great round. We're gonna take a short break now, and then we'll jump back into segment 3, Brospective. See you here in a minute. Hello and welcome back to GPT Should Start a Podcast. We were just entering our third segment, Brospective. Okay.
GPT should start a podcast.
Thank you, Dee. Okay, back in the voice of ChatGPT. Now it's time for some Brospective, where we shall share a chill reflection on life, whether it's a lesson learned, a win, or just something that made you pause this week. Dino. So you're supposed to talk about the importance of keeping fit, not just for looks, but for sanity, how streetwear and fitness keep you grounded.
Everything it's like
this is why I thought sharing the script would have been easier with you guys, so you could follow along, you know.
But every single question it asked is speak about the Kamala Trump debate and how streetwear fits in.
It's positioned you as the streetwear guru, so that's just your role. Yeah, I know.
So I'm talking about health and fitness.
So let's just
break it
take
down
some creative license here. Yeah, so for Brospective, we share a chill reflection on life, whether it's a lesson learned, a win, or just something that's made you pause this week. So it's, I think, a suggestion which you can take as you will, would be importance of keeping fit, not just for looks, but for sanity, and how streetwear and fitness keep you grounded.
Okay. Well, my piece of advice this week is if you have the means, if you either can afford it or you have good insurance, everyone out there, even if you don't think you need it, go to physio on the regular. Man, that shit is a necessity. Danderz, you got your back pain. Dave, you got your back pain. I'm dealing with a wrist injury.
God, guys, what happened to us, man? We hit 30 and it all just fucking collapses.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I fucking, slipped the disc earlier in the year as well and needed probably like 30 plus physio visits to sort that out.
I am with you, D. I think like a proper physio routine, rehabbing, and like I said earlier, mobility and longevity, I think... For now, literally the first time, I'm not pretending I put this into practice yet, but I am acknowledging that is what kind of needs to start happening from now on in, you know what I mean?
And also, when you're going to physio, you got to make sure your physio is decked out with a fucking Omega watch.
100%.
On a goddamn banh mi.
Dripping.
If I can find an Omega on a band me, I'm going to put that in the chat. Yeah, no, agreed. But about physio as well, like I know that it isn't necessarily medically sanctioned, but I want to get into the whole chiropractor thing as well and get lined up. Like you guys will know I have one leg that's longer than the other, but like I think
didn't know that.
I think it's like quite substantial. So it's affected, everything in life. Like I think it's up to an inch. Like it feels really dramatic. It kind of connects a lot of the dots of stuff from younger days. And I just want to get on top of that. I know I need like insoles or orthotics or whatever you want to call them. I had them from physio when I was younger, but they were just correcting for, like they were treating my calves, which were sore, but my calves were sore as a result of this. Mm-hmm. They were treating symptoms rather than the cause. You know what I mean? So like I had to do calf stretches and stuff like that. But what I want is for my leg length discrepancy to be addressed. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, whether it is like a particularly insole or they try and massage it out of the hip joint or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know whether it's a combination of physio and chiro, but like I've been really wanting to sort that out for years now. And so I'm just hoping the doctor will kind of point me in the right direction instead of just being like, yeah, any of them will do. That's all to play for, guys. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that in future podcasts to your major excitement. Okay, so next on Prospective, Dave, you might, as a suggestion, reflect on managing biotech lab life while staying true to your streetwear passion with a funny story about showing up to a lab meeting shirtless by accident.
by accident.
Boys, I have no content for that. Like, what do I even do with that? I don't show up to meetings topless. I jump on calls with no camera topless sometimes.
I think that might be a necessary little sort of cherry to pick for the listeners here. We've been testing and planning this series of podcasts for months, and every single one of them, Dave has showed up to shirtless. Me and Dino have never requested it, but are always pleased.
Always pleased.
You don't need to ask. I just know.
You don't need to ask.
Except for today. You're wearing a shirt today. What's that about?
I am disappointed. Yeah, I have to admit.
I was feeling one of those cozy mornings. I just got up. It's the first morning in a while that it's been kind of dusk that I've gotten up for the podcast, or like kind of halfway between daylight and nighttime. So yeah, fucking feeling cozy. Got a stove on in the background, set a nice ambiance.
Yeah. For the listener, he's set his VR background to like to me it's a haunted house, but like I think it is supposed to elicit like a cozy, like there's a fireplace and it's like a conservatory or whatever. So
to me, it looks real cozy.
It feels cozy.
Yeah. Oh, just like cozy up on the couch with a mug of hot cocoa with a fucking Casio on top of it.
Moist and chocolatey. It just isn't light enough for me in that VR background. It just looks dark and eerie. Too much glass.
That's fair. Solid glass. To be fair, so the inputs for this chat GPT, I feel I know what you were going for, but it makes for a very difficult questions for me.
So I think maybe in our future runs, because we can call this the pilot episode, I'll share the script with you guys in advance. You can take your cues, and then we can swap out the cookie cutter stories about shirtless lab accidents and streetwear passion, and you can sub in your own content. So here's my one. So Danderz shares how the ritual of winding his favorite mid-century tool wristwatch every morning reminds him to slow down and appreciate the little things like a perfectly cooked steak.
And then you put the watch over the steak.
I put a steak with a fucking Longines on it. Yeah. Put the watch around the steak like it's a big fat wrist. Juicy wrist. Yeah, well, that is exactly what I was going to actually say, ChatGPT, is winding my favorite mid-century tool wristwatch every morning reminds me to slow down and appreciate the little things like a perfectly good steak.
How do you like a steak?
Medium rare.
Medium rare.
Oh,
Dino?
Absolutely. Yeah, medium rare.
Yeah.
Are you a medium well? Most Irish people I know are medium well.
Medium rare to rare. I feel like if you're any more than that, you're wasting a good piece of meat.
Yeah, I hear that. Cool. So ChatGPT caps it off with an AI unique perspective. As an AI, time's relative for me, but I admire the way you all hold on to moments, whether it's a killer streetwear fit or a ridiculously good taco. Bros, life moves fast, but those simple things keep it meaningful. I hear you, ChatGPT. I hear you. Okay, moving swiftly to our last section, which is the outro, again in the voice of ChatGPT. And that's a wrap on this week's episode of The Shirtless Society. Bros, it's been a vibe as always. Dino, Dave, Danderz, any parting words for the shirtless souls out there? Dino?
Thank you.
GPT.
Thank you, GPT. What a podcast. Did a much better job than we do. Those are some fire topics. Unfortunately, Dave couldn't come through with any fire answers today. He was a little bit stunned, deer in the headlights.
Way off.
Someone who works in computers as well, I should suggest. But I think, Dino, ChatGPT thought you were going to say keep it fresh, keep it fire, and never skip leg day. So maybe we can work on that for next time.
What was that? Keep it
fresh, keep it fire, and never skip leg day.
Keep it fresh, keep it fire, and never skip leg day.
Smooth. Dave?
Yeah, no, it was difficult.
Just parting words.
Yeah,
Parting words.
it was difficult. That's my parting words. I don't know. Keep it fresh, keep it clean, and keep it biotech. Whatever.
Best soundboard moment ever. So if this is helpful, Dave, I think that ChatGPT intuited that you'd say something like, stay sharp, both in the lab and on the streets. Oh, and if you're going shirtless, make sure it's worth it.
Make sure it's worth it.
So I guess we can call that one a work in progress, and you can work on it for next week. And then Danderz, well, I'm lucky I can see the script. Eat well, dress better, and never underestimate a mid-century tool wristwatch. And I'll leave you with this. Stay curious, stay open, and remember, no one has ever looked bad in a well-fitted hoodie. Until next time, peace, love, and streetwear vibes. Streetwear shirtless or not, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
GPT should start a podcast.
Welcome back to We Should Start a Podcast. Already in progress. We just heard our brilliant, groundbreaking new podcast from Danderz. GPT should start a podcast. That was pretty wild. I enjoyed it.
That was fun.
It was wild. Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah, it was interesting.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
No, I'm a bit jealous. I think GPT is coming for our job.
Definitely. Yeah. Kind of got the vibe. Pretty cool dude. Pretty cool dude, I might say. So I guess we'll run through the classic rating system.
We will. As always, we will critique GPT should start a podcast using the classic podcast rating system based on 3 criteria. And those 3 criteria are, number 1, the concept or the general idea of the show. Number 2, longevity. Do we think this show has legs to grow? And number 3 is pod sauce. Pod sauce is the je ne sais quoi flair or spice to the podcast that makes it a winner. Pod sauce could be literally anything you enjoyed from the pod or something you thought gave the pod some extra flavor. This week's pod sauce segment is sponsored by Augmented Reality's Mystery Satisfaction Sauce. Wow. Never even heard of this sponsor before.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. And we will take the money from Augmented Reality's Mystery Satisfaction Sauce and say no more. And after discussing the 3 criteria of concept, longevity, and pod sauce, we will each give our final rating of this week's podcast. Will GPT should start a podcast be a smash hit, or should we trash it? We will decide after we give our critiques. Danderz, why don't you take us through this critique section?
Yes, and the Mystery Satisfaction Sauce will join Athletic Greens in supporting, and Babel in supporting an already fantastic show. And we would recommend that every day should be a Mystery Satisfaction, and every day you should enjoy AG1. So to kick off our for $100 a day or $100 a month, but I'm sure the Mystery Satisfaction Sauce will be considerably more. David, talk about concept. What did you think of GPT should start a podcast?
It was interesting. I'm sick that I didn't give it myself. It's cool idea, man. To just plug it into a machine that's ever growing as well, ever expanding. So yeah, no, I liked it. I liked the concept. Good concept.
Fun.
Babble.
Thank you, Dave. And Dino, what did you make of the concept?
I loved it, Danderz. Loved the concept. I like that takes a little bit of the work off our hands, you know? We can just we
kind of phone it in a bit.
Yeah. Exactly. And as we demonstrated today, we don't even need to give good answers to questions.
That's the point.
Or answer at all.
ChatGPT does all the work for you.
Yeah, exactly. I liked it. It's modern. It's fresh.
It's modern. It's vintage inspired.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what did you make of the longevity?
Well, as mentioned with the concept, it's an ever expanding machine. So I guess the possibilities are endless. You can just keep plugging shit into it for new and fresh podcast ideas. So yeah, it definitely has a lot of longevity associated with this podcast idea.
Avenue.
Good job.
Dino, what did you think about longevity?
I believe the question should be, what do you think of its longevity? And how do you think streetwear has had an impact? I loved it. And I think it definitely has legs to grow. Like Dave said, you can plug in endless amounts of permutations of information and data, and it will spit out a new show for us. And I think as AI continues to improve, we can get some even more wacky and great podcast ideas.
I agree about the longevity. I think you can plug whatever you want into it, you know? Like, I think Dave asked us our 3 favorite cheeses recently. You could have a cheese podcast, you know? We could be cheese experts. And I loved the way ChatGPT was involved as the moderator. That was something I called out in the script, which I thought was super fun to really get to know ChatGPT on a one-to-one basis. You know, I feel like we kind of connected on the level that maybe not a lot of other people have had the chance. They probably don't take the time. You know, fuck them. So yeah, I agree on longevity. What about pod sauce, Dave?
My pod sauce for this week was your Stephen Hawking style impression throughout the podcast. I really enjoyed that. Clearly different from the lady we usually hear when it comes to AI like Alexa and Siri and whatnot. No, it was good. I liked your voice, the Stephen Hawking voice throughout and just your voice in general. I just like your voice in general, dude.
Do you actually question, was Stephen Hawking's computer voice, was that designed based off his original voice?
No. So they developed an early, talking model, which he was plugging interface into. And I think it was in the 80s, a long time ago. And that was the first like spoken thing that they had at the time. I think pretty quickly the technology got to a point that they could plug in his old voice, and he said that was his brand now, and that, like, you know, that's what people kind of recognize him for. So he stayed with that for years after he needed to. That voice. Yeah. Dino, what was your take for pod sauce?
Well, I know Dave handed that to me on a platter there. In the break, we did talk a little bit about Stephen Hawking, and I made a great joke about Stephen Hawk-Tua, and we just kind of glazed over that there. We didn't get it in. But we will move on. My pod sauce of the week was, let me think about this one. You know what? I just liked a little anecdote about people taking pictures of their watches on food. I just don't understand it at all. And I've never seen it. I look forward to spotting it in the wild.
Yeah, the Omega on the banh mi.
I just don't understand how that even looks aesthetic.
It's so creepy. It's a misstep, I have to say. No, yeah, that's a fair one. Thank you for that sauce recommendation, LD. So finally we come to trash it or smash hit. Reverse that.
Yeah.
Smash hit or trash it. Dave, what's your take?
This one was, despite getting a machine to do all the work for you, feels like a bit of a cop out, but it's still a freaking smash hit. Good job, Danderz. Great podcast.
Thank you, Dave. And Dino, smash hit or trash it?
I think it was a bit lazy, a little bit derivative. I think
just like us.
We need a lot of work. We need work with our inputs into the GPT and also with our answers. It was lackluster. That being said, I don't want to offend our future AI overlords, so it's an absolute smash hit from me, and that is 2 smash hits.
Thank you, Dino, and thank you everyone in the GPT sphere for tuning in this year, this fine year. And we look forward to the next one. Take it easy, guys, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wow. With a resounding positive response from our panel here, our expert panel. GPT Should Start a Podcast is most definitely a certifiable smash hit. But at WSSAP, we like to hedge our bets. So until we can get this bad boy into production, I think we might need to get some licensing rights from GPT, maybe. Until we can get into production, get those licensing rights, we will continue plotting, pitching, and of course podding until we are certain we have the next pod smash on our hands. What do you think, Dave? How do you think streetwear would play into our future podcast endeavors?
If it's in the food, it makes it look way better.
That's true. That's true. What if you poured some of that mystery satisfaction sauce over a fucking Cartier timepiece? No?
I guess because it's a mystery, it's hard to tell. Like,
Oh, that's true.
but it is satisfaction guaranteed. So likely that would be extra delicious.
It's very ambiguous.
Very ambiguous. Yeah.
Don't know what to make of it.
Very ambiguous. Yeah. It's hard to improve on shirtless wisdom in mid-century cage, but I feel like we are gonna give it a go. I feel like we've got this one in the hopper, so we've got to see if better can be done. If it can't, we know where we stand.
Just keep rolling, rolling, rolling. You know what I mean? I don't know who sings that song. Do you know, Dave? Just keep... Oh, no, it's Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit.
Oh, yeah. That's a Fred Durst special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the original, though. There was an original. The original was a country song, but I couldn't tell
was
you
it?
who it was. Yeah.
I was sure there was some joke coming in there about mystery satisfaction sauce on watches on the food and Limp Bizkit. I thought that there would be something there. Something there. I thought you were being too clever for your own good.
No,
El
that's
Dino.
not me. That is not me. You got the wrong guy.
Frankie Lane is the original artist. And Rawhide? Rawhide. Yeah, that's the name of the song.
Okay. Well, we will put a link to that in the episode notes for all you limp heads out there who want some of the history, some of the lore. And you heard it here first, folks. Listen out for GPT Should Start a Podcast coming soon exclusively to the surprisingly non-erotic Mystery Satisfaction Sauce podcast app. If you think that we should start GPT Should Start a Podcast, please rate, subscribe, and let us know at WSSAP Official on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. That's WSSAP Official on Instagram and Twitter. We are inches away from a huge idea, and you can tune in again next week to hear us pitch that next hit show. And I really think that one's going to be the one. We spoke about it a little bit there, guys, but I really have a good feeling about next week. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, well, it's my job next week, so I'm gonna
trash. It's trash.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Big D.
I have faith in Dave the Rave. I'm excited. It's going to be our best yet.
Abso-fucking-lutely, my boys. But we're gonna have to wait till next week, and until then, keep your ear to the grindstone. And if you're listening to this on a commute in your automobile, remember the industrious words of the man who put you there, Henry Ford. For most purposes, a man with a machine is better than a man without a podcast. See you next time.